We often talk about one-hit wonders in music, shout out to Natalie Imbruglia, Men Without Hats and the rest of the gang. However, there are acting one-hit wonders too. For this exercise, here is how we are defining an acting one-hit wonder. They are actors who had success with only one role. We're talking commercial success, not critical. Also, roles that extended over multiple films still count. Lastly, we're talking main roles only. If an actor had a small part in another successful movie or TV show, that doesn't count. With all that said, here are the biggest acting one-hit wonders. These days, Australians are all over American movies, although usually they hide their accents. Back in the day, though, Hogan became famous basically just for playing an archetypal Australian bloke. Crocodile Dundee was a huge success, but the two sequels, especially the long-delayed third movie, couldn't live up to the success of the first one. Hogan is forever Mick Dundee in our eyes. The 20 most controversial movie characters of all time. Cook charmed audiences as the female lead, opposite Freddie Prinze Jr. in She's All That. After that she got the chance to play Josie in the Josie and the Pussycats movie. That film is honestly a lot of fun, but it was a huge flop. That basically ended Cook's movie career, leaving She's All That as her one true success. Cook has now become a Hallmark Netflix romantic comedy staple. Keanu Reeves has become one of our most iconic movie stars. He's Neo, he's John Wick, of course, he's also Ted Logan in the Bill and Ted films. Who played Bill S. Preston-esque? Though, that would be Winter, who did not quite branch out like his co-star. At least Winter and Reeves got to reunite for Bill and Ted Face the Music, though that was unfortunately buried in COVID-19 chaos. Which 25 rock albums have sold the most copies all time? In truth, Daniel Radcliffe and Emma Watson are still trying to escape the gravity of starring in the Harry Potter series. They've succeeded to a degree, but Grint hasn't been quite as successful. The redhead is still remembered first and foremost as Ron Weasley, the third member of the main triumvirate in the Harry Potter universe. Sure, Hamill has gotten love for voicing the Joker in animated films, but that's a small role where people don't see him. Plus, it's not like they have been major motion picture releases. Well, we guess Hamill will have to settle for being known as Luke Skywalker, aka maybe the most iconic character in cinema. The 20 best country songs of the 2000s. Macchio is in My Cousin Vinny, which is a good movie, and a successful one, but he has a small role. It doesn't count as a main role, on account of the fact he is neither Joe Pesci nor Marissa Tomei. He's not even Fred Gwynne. Macchio can claim being known as Daniel LaRussa, aka the Karate Kid. There's a reason he's currently playing LaRussa again on Cobra Kai. Furlong hadn't acted in a film before playing John Connor in Terminator 2, Judgment Day. Then he popped up as a major character in a huge hit movie sequel. However, Furlong was never able to really recapture that success. His movie career petered out, and he never became a successful actor as an adult. The 25 greatest power ballads in music history. Speaking of one-hit wonders from Terminator 2, Furlong played one of the main heroes, perhaps the primary antagonist, but Patrick has a hefty role himself. As the shape-shifting, liquid metal T-1000, it's Patrick who terrorizes John and Sarah Connor before ultimately getting taken down by Arnold Schwarzenegger. Even though she was buried under makeup, we all remember Blair from her role in The Exorcist. Vomiting up pea soup tends to stick with us. After that though, she mostly found herself acting in B-movies and exploitation flicks like Hell Night and Chained Heat. 22 underrated lead singers who deserve way more love. Haribo burst onto the scene starring in the oddly titled film Coyote Ugly. It seemed to presage good things for the young actress, but the leading movie roles basically dried up. To be fair, Haribo did star in the USA show Covert Affairs for 75 episodes, but that's not even one of the 5 best-known characters' Welcome-era USA programs. Almost Famous featured 2 young actors in early roles. On the one hand, there was Kate Hudson, who went on to become a romantic comedy star and overall success, at least for a period of time. On the other, there's Fugit, who starred in the movie as Cameron Crowe's personal stand-in. His star didn't rise quite like Hudson's. He did get to play the love interest in the decently received comedy, Saved, and also got another role from Crowe in We Bought a Zoo, but he's mostly just became a working actor. That's not a bad thing, but a second hit never arrived. Guitar Gods, the 30 most influential lead guitarists of all time. Yes, Grey had a role in the definite hit Ferris Bueller's Day Off, but she is nowhere near the star of that film. She did get her big starring role, though, in Dirty Dancing, which she got a Golden Globe nomination for. Since then, the most notable thing of her career, somewhat fittingly, is the fact that she won a season of Dancing with the Stars. Nobody put Baby in the corner that season. Madeline made a ton of history in the film Children of a Lesser God. Not only did she become the youngest ever winner of the Best Actress Oscar, but she also did it as a deaf actor. When she got the role in the film, she was the first deaf actor to get a leading role in a major motion picture since the silent era. Unfortunately, Madeline's career dropped off after that, but she did have a memorable role in an episode of Seinfeld. The success of Coda, though, might make the argument to take her off this list. 20 actors who played multiple roles in the same TV show. Jim Varney is Ernest, and Ernest is Jim Varney. It's the role that made him an icon. Varney starred as the well-meaning doofus in so many films. When he wasn't playing Ernest P. Worrell, Varney did voice Slinky Dog in the Toy Story movies prior to his death. Those were big hits, obviously, but it was just voiceover work, and Slinky wasn't really a main character. Know what I mean, Vern? We didn't want to put too many child actors on this list. Oftentimes they end up only really getting to star in one film, and some of them don't even continue acting. That was the case for Ostrom, who played Charlie Bucket in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. While he was overshadowed by Gene Wilder as the titular Wonka, he was ostensibly the protagonist of the film. After making Willy Wonka, though, Ostrom basically stopped acting, becoming a veterinarian instead. 20 child stars who had a career resurgence as adults. There were a few notable actors in Breaking Away. Jackie Earle Haley, Daniel Stern, Dennis Quaid. The actual main character, though, was played by Christopher. He won a BAFTA for Most Promising Newcomer, but that never came to fruition. Quentin Tarantino cast him in Django Unchained, so you know he had fallen by the wayside as an actor. Unfortunately, Christopher didn't get the same boost that others have gotten from Tarantino. This may feel crazy on the surface, but it's true. Silverstone, if we aren't counting Aerosmith music videos, has been basically a one-hit wonder. You may not realize it because her role as Cher Horowitz in Clueless is one of the most iconic in the 90s. After that, though, she played Batgirl in the loathed Batman and Robin, and after that she was never really a star again. 20 TV couples that became legendary when they finally got together. This is maybe a stretch, but only because we can't really say that Elizabeth was a true lead in a hit. We're giving her credit for playing Nadia in American Pie, which was certainly a notable role in a big hit comedy. That role, which has not aged well either, was pretty much the peak. She did have a recurring role late in the run of That 70s Show, and she too showed up on Dancing with the Stars, but American Pie was the pinnacle for Elizabeth. Perkins was nominated for Best Supporting Actor for Friendly Persuasion in 1956, but that movie wasn't necessarily a huge hit, and it hasn't really lasted. Nobody hears Perkins' name and thinks Friendly Persuasion. No, they immediately think Norman Bates. Perkins is forever attached to that role, so much so that he ended up playing Bates in 3 Psycho sequels. They also let Perkins direct the third one, which was nice. The 20 Saddest Deaths in Horror Movies. Look, most people don't like Attack of the Clones or Revenge of the Sith. Critically, they are largely failures, but they also made a ton of cash. Like it or not, Christensen starred in 2 hit films as Anakin Skywalker, aka Darth Vader. A lot of people also weren't happy with his performances, which may be why Christensen hasn't had any hits since he lost that lightsaber battle to Obi-Wan. We're moving from movies to TV for the last few names on this list. Yes, Seinfeld is a one-hit wonder. He starred in the biggest sitcom of the 90s, and an all-time hit, but what else has he done beyond that? He hasn't had to do anything, because Seinfeld made him richer than anybody could imagine. That's what lets him spend his days getting coffee with comedians on a whim. And no, that Pop-Tarts movie did not change our minds. 20 A-list actors you didn't realize once starred in a Disney movie. Some of the main cast members of Friends, like Jennifer Aniston, went on to movie stardom. Even the late Matthew Perry had The Whole 9 Yards, which was a success. Schwimmer, though, hasn't really done much since playing Ross. Is it because everybody hates Ross? And yet because teenagers loved watching Friends on Netflix, and presumably now Max, he's still a bigger name than a lot of people currently starring on hit TV shows. Also, he's super rich. The failure of the film, The Rocker, may be indicative of the fact people are only really able to accept Wilson in one role. He's Dwight Schrute. He'll always be Dwight Schrute. That's not a bad thing. Wilson got to play an indelible TV character. They tried to give him a spin-off. Small roles in The Meg isn't a terrible place to end up, especially since, like Friends, The Office remains super popular. The most charming and likable 25 TV characters ever. Lost had a pretty big ensemble of main characters. We can probably include Jack, Kate, Locke, Benjamin Linus et al. However, the big three were really Jack, Kate and Sawyer. Holloway is the one who played Sawyer, and he certainly made his impact on the huge hit. Since then, though, unless you watched Colony, which you likely didn't, you probably haven't seen Holloway on your screen anytime recently. West should have had a couple of hits, because the sitcom pilot he starred in for Lookwell, which was written by Conan O'Brien and Robert Smigel, should have taken off. Instead, West has to settle for being the first actor remembered for playing Batman. West chewed the scenery in the campy comedy Take on the Caped Crusader, but he was fantastic as it. He still got to be a legend, even if he spent so much of his time on screen under a cowl. Being a one-hit wonder isn't a bad thing. You can still do great things in that limited space. Did you enjoy this slideshow?